The Citadel will always stand. And its keepers will forever reign. The words echoed through the chamber as Lord Keeper viewed his people, their mixed race of myriad shapes and colors, before returning to his chambers. This time, in this world, he stood at just above 8 standard units tall, towering over most other beings. His skin was hidden by deep sapphire scales, glimmers of vibrant green visible when the scales flexed with each of his forearms' movements. He sat comfortably, tail coiled beneath him, on the massive metal throne, leafing through the large tome that was the constant of each Lord Keeper of the Citadel. The Lord Keeper surveyed the words written within, each chapter written in a different hand, though the language remained the same. Each time the Citadel shifted, each time the reality engines were used, the Lord Keeper's first duty was to chronicle the current state of things. Such glorious things, the reality engines. He mused, his voice hissing idly on that last syllable. It had been untold eons ago, the first of the Lord Keepers, then rulers of most of the known galaxy, had developed the Eldritch technology. Capturing and maintaining a stable tier in the very fabric of reality itself. Left when the Keepers destroyed the last remaining Elder Thing that ruled in the dark space of the universe. The idea had been a relatively simple one. For ages, some variation of the phrase, "the universe does not revolve around you," had been used by untold civilizations. The Keepers, though, decided to challenge that notion. As the rulers of the universe, why should the universe not revolve around them? The reality engines had made this possible. A simple press of a button, used when some upstart or lucky civilization would breach the Citadel and threaten them, and the Citadel and its keepers were shunted through the infinite realms of the multiverse, to a world where they had achieved victory, consuming the remnants of the old reality, as fuel for the engines. The latest upstarts had been a strange civilization. A group of pink-fleshed upstarts from the Sol system of the Milky Way galaxy, a planet known in the archives as Terra, Earth in their native tongue. Not even older than the youngest Keeper, they had thought to challenge their betters, rallying other worlds with a battle cry for freedom from their oppressors. The Lord Keeper had to admit, though, that from what he read of the records of the version of himself that had been in that world, they were a tenacious bunch. Adapting at a rate that was almost frightening, from the tone of the hastily scrambled words, mastering technologies almost as fast as they could be created. Humans, bah. Such a young race thinking they could challenge us, he muttered, turning a page back to look at previous records from previous Lord Keepers. Just because they had achieved victory did not mean there was nothing to learn from the previous realities. Sometimes ideas for new technologies or methods of subjugation of their conquered worlds were found there, so it was said. Only the Lord Keeper could read through the tome of ancient records. So much of its contents were unknown beyond rumor. The first page turn caused the Lord Keeper's eyes to widen slightly. It appears that, in the reality before last, the humans had been the ones that had breached the Citadel as well. Surely nothing to bother, he flipped back. The scales on the back of his neck prickled as the description of that young race from Terra were mentioned again. It was the same on the page before, and the page before. Dozens, soon hundreds of parallel realities, consumed by the reality engines, each brought on by the rise of these primates from the Sol system. Lord Keeper. Lord Keeper. One of his own race, a lesser class with red scales instead of the royal blue, burst through, panting and gasping, a gaping wound on his side oozing the purple blood that flowed through their veins. We are breached. It is. Humans. The Lord Keeper said, his voice quivering slightly. The surprised but knowing look from the other was all he needed. Quick. To the reality engines. We need to stop this while we can. They moved quickly through the halls, towards the large machines, held in reverence by all their myriad race. The design was elegant, simple. A single button, when pressed, activated the device. Their creators had known that in a situation this dire technical use or multiple steps would be the end of them. The Lord Keeper slammed a clawed fist onto the button, bracing for the strange pulling sensation that came when their citadel was shunted to another reality, the one thing that most retained between worlds. But nothing came. He raised his fist and slammed it down again on the button, but again, all that was heard was a slight click of the device, a whirring of engines, and then silence. Each press yielded nothing new, nothing that would give any indication that they had moved. Impossible. His voice quivered as he turned to the ruby-scaled warrior who had alerted him to the humans' assault. "What is wrong with the engines? Tell me," he bellowed, his scales flaring up in anxious panic. "Nothing, Lord Keeper. I swear, nothing has been done to the engine." His voice was cut off as the large doors burst open in an explosion of flames. A platoon of human soldiers, flanked by Centauri, Eucali, and even Nagati soldiers, stormed in, weapons raised. The Lord Keeper made one last desperate attempt to press the button, praying to his ancestors to activate the engines. But he was down before his fist could reach for the button, each of the soldiers firing on him, ending his reign in a purple explosion of blood. It was nearly a year later when the coalition forces were able to decipher the strange script of the Lord Keeper's large tome, a record of parallel worlds and shunted, destroyed realities fed to the now long dismantled reality engines. The first passage, read last as the scientists tracked backwards through the tome, stood out among the rest of the technical jargon and descriptions of lost campaigns and conquered worlds. "The humans are at the gates, but they do not know the power we wield. As long as there is a reality in the infinite realms of the multiverse, we shall never fail. As long as but one universe exists where there is victory to be found, the reality engines will guide us there. I doubt we will see these pink primates again. After all, what race could withstand an infinite of realities of defeat and still remain a threat?" Author's name and the link to original text is in the description.